Hi, my name is Rachel and I am looking after the electronic systems on board for Alex during the build-up to the Vendée Globe. And during the race, I'll be technical support on the other end of the phone for him. This is the Nav Station on board, and this is where Alex will spend a large chunk of his time. He runs all of his weather routing from here. The navigation station actually swivels, so he can always sit himself in the best position to be comfortable and have his weight in the right place while he's racing. Most of the electronics on board are channeled back to around this area, so he doesn't need to move around the boat and everything's easy to get at. Everything's pretty much turned on and off here, and all of the information he needs to see are on these screens. He runs a couple of different pieces of navigation software which he can use to interpret the weather and plan the fastest route for the race. The weather comes to him via a few different channels, and we have two primary satellite communication systems on board. We have Iridium and we have Inmarsat Fleet Broadband. They both run on different satellite networks, so the idea is he's got lots of redundancy. If one satellite network went down, he could hopefully always use the other one. When the weather comes through the SATCOMs, he can load it into his navigation software on the laptop and run routes. And he's got lots of different tools for working out which routes are going to be the most reliable and the most accurate. So he'll spend hours every day sat looking at the weather. He'll get new weather through every 6 hours. The other thing that he does from here, as well as planning his routes, is monitoring all of the boat instrument data. We've got lots of systems on board for monitoring the weather, the boat speed, so he can always make sure that he's got the boat set up in the most efficient configuration, board, sails. He's got a lot of different controls that he can play with, and his instruments help him to check that he's actually running at his optimum all of the time. A lot of the instrument data comes through on these displays, which obviously we have two at the Nav Station and we have several all around the boat. He also uses these to control the autopilot as well, and the autopilot does a huge amount of the work and will drive most of the way around the world. So it's really important that the instruments are 100% reliable. And in the preparation, we spend a lot of time making sure that everything is fully calibrated so that the pilot is driving at its optimum, because that's what's actually going to be racing him around the world. This is the Iridium telephone. It's a satellite phone. Looks like something you might find in your kitchen. But Alex will use this to talk to his team, and probably me, for many, many hours during the race. This is his Fleet Broadband phone. Similar, another satellite phone, different satellite network to the Iridium, so it gives him more redundancy. So he can always be in phone contact with those two phones. So the radar's receiving an image now. I can just change the range so we can zoom in on us. So we can use, Alex will use the radar to pick up ships and icebergs, and also weather, picks up clouds so he can see squalls. So it's a really important tool for his racing, safety and performance wise. So that'll be on for a lot of the race. The barometer is an important tool for Alex because it tells him about the pressure in the weather systems, and that gives him an idea of exactly where he is sat on the weather images that he's receiving through his SATCOMs. The barometer is actually telling him quite specifically where he's sat relative to weather systems. So another very important tool on board. That's the sleep alarm that Alex has on board to make sure that he wakes up after he has his 20-minute nap. And we have a little timer dial here so he can set however many minutes of sleep he wants to get. And believe it or not, that alarm doesn't always wake him up. This is one of the Keel control panels that we have on board. There are 4 on board, 2 down below and 2 in the cockpit. There's a canting keel on board this boat, so Alex controls it from these buttons. The red button will move the keel, moves the keel to port. The green button moves it to starboard. Yellow to centre, and blue will stop it. These panels here are for measuring battery state and charging, and these are engine pressure monitors.